Szle is second only to goulash for being a famous Hungarian dish. It's also known as fisherman soup, and there are several variations, mostly based on what else goes into the soup, aside from fish and paprika. What I'm showing here is a restaurant version that has stood the test of time for appealing to people all the way from Japan to the United States, from India to Russia. But there are some differences from the classic Hungarian version, I realize. As a chef, I confess that I'm more interested in the widespread appeal of the dish than following arbitrary rules of tradition.
This is the fish I'm beginning with. It's a albino trout. I'm not going to bother showing you how to fillet this because most of you are probably going to have a butcher do it for you, and the rest of you already know how to fillet a fish. It's just going to add time onto the video, and there's already a lot of videos out on YouTube that show you how to do this. So I'll come back to this in a second as soon as I fillet it. And this is what you want to end up with. You've got all the off trimmings, as it's called, and then the good, clean, boneless, skinless fillet. I'm going to put cling film over this and stick this back in the refrigerator, and then we'll continue. And we heat up a little vegetable oil in the pan. Start to sweat these chopped onions, about 140 grams of chopped onions, 140, 150. I have this on a medium heat. It's been about 5 minutes now. Now I'm going to add crumpled up bay leaf to it, a tablespoon of paprika. This is the commercial paprika in this case. The second tablespoon would be paprika I made myself. About half a teaspoon or so of coriander seeds. Again, I know, not exactly traditional, it's not exactly the way it would be done in Hungary, but this is a restaurant dish and it's not supposed to be authentic. I'm just making it the best way that I can. Not always, the best is not always the authentic. And I have a red chili here. It's medium hot again. It's not serrano, but it's not super mild. And I'm just going to chop this up coarsely and put this in too. Good. And you're going to continue cooking this on a medium heat for another couple of minutes here. It's been 2 or 3 more minutes. Has a lovely aroma now. Now I'm going to add all those fish trimmings in, including the head. And with 1,200 milliliters of water and some thyme branches. And we're going to bring this up to a simmer and simmer it for about an hour. And this is the level of simmer we're looking for, and don't count the 1 hour of time until it comes up to this level. Don't start the time until it's already at this level. And then you're going to drain it on a colander like this, let it cool down some, and you're going to have to kind of go through and pick out if there's any like really big pieces. Most of it's kind of lumped into mush now, but if there's any really large pieces, go through and pick them out and throw those in the trash next. Now I've got a food mill here set up with the medium-sized holes, you can see that, and we're going to run this through as best we can. The pulp that goes in here becomes flavor and solids in the soup. The only things that I picked out, by the way, were tail fin pieces, the fins of the fish, because those aren't going to go through and they don't have anything to contribute in flavor. So you got to play with this, go back and forth for a little bit, get as much as you can through. Now I've cleaned out the pan and returned the soup to it. I'm adding the passata. This is 60 grams, about 2 ounces of passata, pureed tomatoes. I'm going to add 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. You might need to adjust that later. Probably need a little bit more salt. A little black pepper, maybe 1/4 of a teaspoon. And I'm adding a tablespoon of my own homemade paprika. You can use a commercial one. The homemade ones could have a lot better taste. Volume 1 of my cookbook, I talk about that and the special peppers that you use and how you process it and everything. Okay, now we're going to bring this up to a simmer first. Give it a few minutes, it'll come to a simmer. As this is heating up, the tradition would be to cook these dumplings in this if we're making the authentic Hungarian soup. I'm going to make a version of it. This is a version. I'm adding 45 grams of rice now to this. You could also add pasta to this if you like. Don't overdo it though, because you want it to be about the fish and not about the other ingredients that are in there. So we're going to cook this a little bit first before we add the fish, because the fish will cook very quickly. Now, when it's at a simmer like this with the rice in it, or pasta, or whatever you're putting in there, you can begin counting the time. I'm going to count 10 minutes now before I add the fish to it. Now that it's been simmering for 10 minutes with the rice, now I'm going to add the fish, which I've cubed up. May not be obvious here because it's going to stick to itself. And that final teaspoon of paprika. Now this is a bright red Hungarian one that will help give it flavor and color. And we're going to stir this through. That's only a teaspoon. The last batch of paprika is just a teaspoon. And then after this cooks until the fish is done, I'm going to let it simmer for 10 or 15 more minutes, and then we're going to check the salt level.
If you want to know more about my adventures as a chef around the world and have some great laughs along the way, be sure to check out the video tour of my book, 40 Years in One Night. It's up on YouTube right now. Click the link. If you like my videos, look for my cookbook, now available through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other internet bookseller sites. Also look for my cocktail book, Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond, Advanced Mixology, available through Amazon online.